All right, let's dive right into this. Today, we're unpacking a truly devastating public health and criminal crisis that recently unfolded in India. It's one of those situations that really forces us to take a hard look at the hidden, frankly dangerous networks operating right beneath the surface of everyday life. In this explainer, we're going to walk through the anatomy of the Pune fake liquor case. We'll be relying purely on the facts, the medical data, and the law enforcement response exactly as they were reported. It is a really sobering look at just how quickly a black market commodity can turn into an absolute mass casualty event.
And the sheer scale of this tragedy is entirely encapsulated by just one stark number, 14. 14 men succumbed to what authorities strongly suspect was spurious or fake liquor. And it's important to remember these aren't just statistics, right? These were sudden, incredibly aggressive fatalities that just sent immediate shockwaves through local communities and triggered a massive state-level response.
Part 1. Tragedy strikes Pune. 2 neighborhoods devastated.
So, when we actually map out the geographic footprint of this poisoned supply, we see a pretty stark split across the region. Over in the Fujawadi area of Pimpri-Chinchwad, the impact was heavily concentrated. We're talking 10 confirmed deaths just there. Meanwhile, over in the Pandahare Mala area in Pune's Hadapsar, there were 4 confirmed deaths. This comparison is crucial because it shows us we aren't just looking at, an isolated bad batch consumed in a single room. We are looking at a toxic product that was distributed and sold across completely different localized markets.
And you have to look at who was actually impacted here. The victims spanned a huge age range, from guys as young as 27 all the way up to 64 years old. This wasn't limited to one specific demographic or generation. Reports described this deep pall of gloom just descending over these neighborhoods. I mean, fathers, sons, and brothers literally losing their lives after what they probably thought was just a routine purchase. It is a really harsh reminder of the human cost hidden inside these illegal trades.
Moving on to Part 2. The poison in the glass. Let's look at the lethal chemistry of bootleg liquor.
Okay, let's get our definitions straight first. When we talk about spurious liquor, what we're actually referring to is illegally produced, completely unregulated alcohol. In this specific tragedy, the police allege that the local supply was lethally laced with methanol. Now, methanol is highly toxic to humans, it's an industrial chemical, it is absolutely not meant for consumption. Just to be officially certain, Pune Commissioner of Police Amitesh Kumar confirmed that viscera samples have been preserved and sent over to the Forensic Science Laboratory. So we are waiting on that final FSL report to officially, legally ascertain the precise cause of death, but the medical evidence so far points really heavily to methanol toxicity.
And the terrifying medical reality of what happened to these men, as detailed by Dr. Rajendra Wabble, the dean of Yashwantrao Chavan Memorial Hospital, is just rapid and severe. Step 1 actually begins kind of deceptively with respiratory complaints and a heavy head, but it very quickly escalates to Step 2, where the patient suffers a huge spike in their heartbeat and acidosis, which is this really dangerous buildup of acid in the bloodstream. By Step 3, the victims experienced intense dizziness, frothing, and ultimately unconsciousness. Dr. Wabble noted that most of the deceased were engaged in binge drinking, which means this immense toxic load was dumped into their bodies in a very short window of time. It made their conditions absolutely critical almost immediately.
Part 3. Dismantling the ecosystem. Let's get into the law enforcement crackdown.
Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis addressed this whole thing head-on, and his phrasing here is super important. He stated, "We have identified the complete ecosystem behind it and are trying to find out how far this ecosystem has spread." I really want to highlight his use of the word ecosystem. The authorities are not looking at this as some tragic accident or a one-off mistake by a single vendor. They are treating it as a structured, deadly, and networked criminal enterprise operating completely in the shadows.
And the police moved fast. They rapidly rounded up 8 individuals. And looking at the key players gives you a real sense of how highly networked this operation was. You've got Karnel Singh Taksing Virka, who is 73 years old, arrested alongside several of his family members. That really demonstrates the multi-generational nature of this bootlegging ring. Then you have 23-year-old Yogesh Ramchandra Wankede. The excise department detained him because he allegedly acted as the connective tissue, basically the distributor, who supplied this toxic liquor to both the Fugawadi and Hadapsar areas. And over in Hadapsar specifically, a case was registered against Akash Jadhav, who was identified as the local supplier where victims allegedly bought the alcohol directly.
And let me tell you, the authorities are throwing the book at them. Under CP Amitesh Kumar, police have levied some incredibly severe legal charges.
We're talking Section 105 for culpable homicide not amounting to murder, Section 123 for causing hurt using poison, Section 125 for a rash or negligent act endangering human life, and Section 275 for the sale of noxious food or drink. Plus, of course, they're enforcing relevant sections of the Maharashtra Prohibition Act. So the justice system is categorizing this not as a simple regulatory slap on the wrist, but as a severe, life-threatening crime against the public.
Which brings us to Part 4, the search for justice, accountability, and the aftermath.
Because of the sheer scale and the highly networked nature of this crime, local police alone actually aren't leading the charge anymore. The Crime Investigation Department, the CID, which is their specialized investigative wing, has officially taken over the entire probe. They are out there coordinating directly with the state excise department right now to peel back every single hidden layer of this operation.
And to really put the rapid escalation of this crisis into perspective, let's look at the timeline. At hour zero, you have binge drinking of this suspected spurious liquor occurring across multiple Pune locations. Within just 24 hours, victims are being rushed to hospitals exhibiting those terrifying symptoms we talked about. Within 48 hours, the official death toll hits 14, and police have already executed 8 key arrests. And as this remains an ongoing situation, we're seeing massive societal and political fallout. For instance, MLA Rohit Pawar publicly alleged that the death toll is actually 18. He heavily criticized how the home department was functioning, and get this, he and his workers actually went as far as physically destroying an alleged liquor den in Hadasar. The local outrage, the absolute demand for accountability is just palpable.
So that leaves us with one final, highly unsettling question. How far does this toxic ecosystem truly spread? The tragic loss of 14 lives in Pune exposed this lethal underground network that essentially operates in plain sight. While the CID continues its probe and these suspects are facing severe charges, this incident serves as a pretty harrowing reminder of the dangers lurking inside unregulated black markets. It really forces us to ask what other communities might be unknowingly at risk. Just take a second to think about the logistics required to manufacture, distribute, and sell this poison completely without detection until it was far, far too late. Thank you so much for joining me as we unpack the facts of this tragedy. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will see you in the next explainer.